So after a long weekend of rugby, it's finally time to analyse and look over what happened in that famous night in Paris in France versus Wales. So first of all, we're going to be looking at defending between the 9 and 10 channel. Then we'll be looking at defending the short side of the scrum. And then lastly, we'll be looking at defending the kicking game. So after a strong start from both teams, Wales found themselves near the French 22. This puts the French on the back foot after scoring their try. So they're faced with having to defend from a set play from Wales. So Gareth Davis flings the ball out to Rees-Zammit. But if we look at the French defence, we can see that Fickou and Jalibert aren't looking at him. They're looking at Biggar and Jonathan Davis. Louis Rees-Zammit spots this space between the 9 and the 10. And due to his rapid pace, is allowed to go through the gap because Dupont is focused on Davis. Teddy Thomas is too far out to be able to cover the space, so Rees-Zammit decides to go for it, parrying his legs and making it through the gap. And luckily for France, Charles Olivon and Fickou come in to save the day. So Wales found themselves once again back in French half for another attack, but I want to focus on the French defence here. We can see that they're slow to get up, and Aldrit is further back than all of the rest of the French players. This forces them to stay static and on the back foot, which allows Wales to get easy territory from the line out and also be able to hit the line faster. So we can see that Ntamak follows Shaun Edwards' normal plan and tries to shoot up out of the line, but the rest of the French players don't follow, which allows a gap for Rees-Zammit to take in between Aldrit and Ntamak, so once again between the 9 and 10 channel. I want to compare that clip to one that happened very similarly to Wales. So if I just let this clip play through quickly, we can see that Aldrit tries to offload the ball to Fickou, however he fails to get it to hand. But if we slow it down, we can see that Ntamak has the ball and he has the option to distribute it, and he distributes it to Aldrit because Biggar shoots out the line instead of marking his man, which should have been marked by Navidi, which creates a gap in between Jonathan Davis and Dan Biggar for Aldrit to shoot through. And it's exactly the same problem as the one that France had, with a player shooting out the line instead of keeping the defensive structure. So now we're going to move on and look at defending from the short side of the scrum. So Wales have a scrum in French half, and we can see that France move up in a diagonal formation. However, this leaves a gap between Fickou and Jalibert, which Wales take advantage of. However, we can see that Wales have a set move here, and Dan Biggar passes the ball to Wyn Jones. However, we can see that Dan Biggar is distressed about this because it wasn't part of the set move that they had organised. So Wales then have a scrum in a similar position, and they try and go for the same move. However, if we look at the French defence, we can see that this time Antoine Dupont has pushed up, so this has allowed the French defence to shift. However, they've still kept that diagonal formation, which allows Wales to enter through gaps, and George North notices this and hits the line hard, cutting back inside, taking 2 players at a time. And Wales' set move works better this time because it's flinged to Justin Tipuric, who can play as a back with the pass that he has, and Rees-Zammit puts the ball through and Dulin puts into touch. But if we slow it down, we can see that Rees-Zammit has identified that Dulin wouldn't make it in time running past from the other half of the pitch, and Teddy Thomas pushed up to fill in the gap so that Wales can't play it through the hands out wide. The kick stays in play, and as people always say, the kick is only as good as its chase, and Navidi and Rees-Zammit are there to cover up the scraps and gain easy territory for Wales. And for the final part of this video, I'm going to be looking at defending the kicking game. Not this kick in particular, because it's well covered by Liam Williams, who manages to get himself out of trouble, but more on the kick from Gareth Davis, which is just coming up in a second. So we can see that the ruck is set. Navidi and Thomas Francis are trying to cover for Gareth Davis. And one of the new regulations that World Rugby is starting to reinforce is that of use it. So the referees are making players use it quicker. However, in this situation, as Gareth Davis is about to use the ball, Adam Beard comes into shot, and unfortunately for him, Gareth Davis isn't able to get the ball to the back of his leg, so it's stuck behind the second man. And at this time, the referee is telling Wales to use it before he calls for a free kick for France. So Gareth Davis is forced to kick off his left instead, which forces him to do a mediocre kick, which bounces early and allows Doolan to catch it easily and to quickly get back into the Welsh half, which easily allowed them to win the kick chase and eventually led them to scoring their second try of the game. So the try came from a simple chip over the top from Doolan. However, I believe that Wales made it easy for France to score this try because of the way they defended the backfield. I believe that Josh Adams should have been in the position where Gareth Davis is right now, which would have prevented the try from going ahead. So if we look at the Welsh defence from a high angle, we can see that Gareth Davis isn't in the 9 channel where you'd usually find the scrum half. He's more in the position of in the pendulum, and I want to show a quick video by England School with Mike Brown to show what the pendulum actually is.
So the best way to cover the backfield in rugby is to use what we call a pendulum shape. As the ball moves across the field, I'll push you up and drop in behind you. You drop back, following me, and then vice versa. As the ball then moves back across the field, I'll push you up, you drop back. All the time, we're always communicating with each other to make sure we're in the right position.
So in the pendulum, you would normally find a winger in the place of Gareth Davis right now, and in this instance, it would have been Josh Adams, which would have allowed the scrum half to be in the usual 9 channel to be able to catch little chips over the top like this one and prevent France from scoring.